Yeah. And have you ever done this thing with pencils where I don't have a pencil here, but you would hold it like this, and then you would go up and down like this, and it would like in your field of vision. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Magic!
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Welcome to the Broken Build podcast, everybody. This is the podcast where we talk about being in middle school, and then making video games.
Welcome to the podcast no one asked for.
No one asked for it, and yet we're doing it because we want to. My name is Matthieu. My pronouns are he, they. Adrian.
I'm Adrian, and I am a he, him, and a gamer.
No, you're one of the he, hims.
Yeah, I'm not.
That's a minority these days.
Well, I guess I'm a double minority, so do they cancel out?
What? You're like 5 different minority
I'm
types.
5, so I'm everything but a majority.
You're the avatar of POC.
Only for the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah.
Like the Pacific Fire, like the Ring of Fire is just me. Like
you're the Pacific avatar.
Yeah. Oh, I'm out of
the Pacific Ocean's avatar. That's great. We forgot to do where we work. Do we want to do that?
We can, but I want to. Well, on that note, then I want to say congratulations for announcing. You finally have a fucking announcement date, dude.
We have a release date. For context, sorry, this is one of the first few episodes we're recording, so we're still getting into the groove of everything. I work at Valkyrie Entertainment as an environment artist, and as you may or may not know, we have been working on co-development on God of War, Ragnarok for a while now, and we finally announced a release date. Today's recording is July 7th.
Mm-hmm.
We have announced a release date yesterday, I think.
Yes.
Which is very exciting. I'm mostly excited for the fact that now PlayStation fans will stop sending my female coworkers dick pics to get them to leak their release date, which is the thing I'm most excited about. Y'all don't deserve this game.
I wish I got a dick pic to ask for a release date.
You don't wish you got a dick pic, man. I don't think it would be a nice. I think there's like, it's not washed. The lighting is off. They're just like holding it in their hand over the sink type of thing, you know?
Why they in the kitchen?
Like the bathroom sink. Not the kitchen sink. Why would... Man.
That wasn't a joke. I just generally thought it was.
I saw your face. You were genuinely extremely confused.
So they're like, oh, they won't tell me when the release date is.
Well, this is the thing, right? I don't understand how you get to this point. So I guess this is going to be an episode. I'm starting my first tangent. This is going to be an episode about how I love video games, but I don't like gamers. And by gamers, I mean the very minor, very, very vocal subsidy that we as game developers have to deal with on social media. I'm talking those weird, like, console war, like, fanboys that are, like, spamming Cory Barlog on Twitter, that are, like, making meme edits of Jim Ryan and, like, Herman Hulst. Like, just
are there
weird...
fan cams of Jim Ryan and all them?
I don't know if it's fan cams, but I've definitely seen like edits of them in pictures. I just don't get it.
I
don't
want to look
I don't
these
think my
up, but
brain's
I don't
wired
want them
that
in my
way.
history. I'm gonna be completely honest, but I'm gonna look it up anyway.
Yeah, I mean, feel free to look it up. For my own sanity, I won't. But this is something that I don't understand about gaming culture right now. Maybe it's because I'm completely on the other side of it. I don't know if I didn't work in games, if I would be even remotely like that, but...
It's like a really weird form of stan culture, because you're standing someone that, like, a very, very small minority of people know about or give a shit about. And it's like, you don't have a lot of information to go off of, except they supply you this thing. It's like you are not a person, you are just my gateway to more God of War or more something like that. You know what I mean? So
Right, it's like, it almost feels like they don't see us as people.
yeah.
We're just like the machines that are making the game they're waiting for, and they don't understand that the games are made by people sometimes. And that we do not exist to create enjoyment for you. This is our job.
Oh, and
Like,
that,
you
you're the
work-
one person that controls everything. So if I ask you, you'll immediately put it into the system, and it's like, oh, that's it. That's how games work. It's the make.
Yeah, right.
Make
It's
game
like,
work.
sorry, the foliage doesn't move. Let me turn on the button.
Yeah.
You know, you remember that tweet where it was like, someone was like, oh, you know, when you swing your, I think it was in God of War 2018, when you swing your axe, the foliage just, you cut through the foliage and nothing happens. Boring, bad. And I was like,
There's so many fucking like.
do you guys know how much that costs?
There are like so many
on the
weird
environment
fucking
side?
nerds. I'm gonna call it like half the fan base. I don't care. Fuck them. They're like so many fucking nerds that do that with, especially in YouTube, because I feel like. Did you ever watch the Angry Video Game Nerd back in the day on old YouTube?
Yeah.
It's like they're trying to.
I'm least familiar.
Yeah, like for those of you that don't know, his entire brand is like being super duper nitpicky about old games, and from like the old NES era and all that shit. But they're like trying to do it now with AAA titles, but games have reached such a high bar, and like obviously there are shit games that exist that like don't work, but they're very few and far between. But now everyone's fucking nitpicking very, very small things, like if you shoot a piece of fruit in a fruit cart on a random asset in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, it doesn't like have physics per apple. It's just a clump.
Oh, I remember this. What game was that?
I think
was that Uncharted?
it was either Uncharted or Call of Duty. It was Call of Duty. It was Call of Duty for that one, and then like even like with bullet decals and glass breaking in Back 4 Blood, like they're like, this game had it for 3 years ago. Why doesn't this game have it now? And that game like 3-4 years ago was, I think it was a comparison to a Naughty Dog game. And it's like Naughty Dog people spend forever getting small shit like that to make it good. And that's in a single player game. That has nothing to do with multiplayer. And it's like
because there's so many factors. I think this is part of why I'm excited about the fact that we're doing this, is that like we have a perspective because we work on the games that like some people might not understand, of like how incredibly hard it is to make literally anything.
Yeah. And we spent years just to make one thing like decent that maybe no one will notice, but we'll have to notice because some random person will see it. Maybe.
And then they will tweet about it.
Yeah, exactly. But we have to make sure it looks good. Or even just for our own sanity.
I remember my first job. A lot of people in the studio religiously read the subreddit for the game. It was not managed by us. They just read it, and then they would look at what people would say, and then we would look at it internally and be like, this would take us 6 months, this would take us a year and a half, this would take us like a whole new engine, this would do this. And then we were like, we want to make people happy, but like it is realistically not feasible within the bounds of making a commercial product, unfortunately, right? Like this is the other thing, like we love the games we work on, but at the end of the day there's like hundreds of people working on it, and we are not in control. The person, which is me tightening up the graphics on level 3, I do not control if the foliage moves.
Yeah.
That's on another department. I just place the foliage. You know what I'm saying? Like it's completely different, and I think there's a disconnect there with gamers.
It's
that I don't quite understand.
And plus, like, with the hold on, how would I say this? Like, remember during the early 2010s, there was like that documentary called Indie that had
Indie Game the movie.
Yeah, it's a fantastic movie. It gets a pretty cool but via like romanticized look behind indie development, but it's like they like you see these like single people or like group of 5 people make everything, and a lot of people assume that's how it works. Like one person, it's like, oh, I worked on this level. It's like, oh, you did everything. It's like, no, that's not how it works. Also, I realized I'm wearing a God of War shirt, so there you go.
You are? Wait. Show it to the camera. For the listeners at home, this it says Ask the Axe.
And there's God of War at the bottom. Oh, I'm out of focus.
There's a little God of War 2018 logo.
I'm excited for Ragnarok.
Beautiful.
I'm so excited for that.
I'm so excited. Obviously, I cannot say anything. I am under heavy NDA. I will not tell you anything.
Does he hang dong?
I cannot answer that question.
Do I see his Ragnarok?
I cannot answer that question.
This fucking sucks.
Game of the year, baby. But
my game of the years are classified based off how much dong I see per frame.
How much dong was in Elden Ring? Because that's everyone's game of the year right now.
Shit, it can't be mine because there's no dong in it. I need a mod.
That's right.
I need the mod community to come out with everyone just hanging full dong.
It released on PC, right? Right at launch? Yeah, then there'll be...
Well, people already made Shrek mods, and I think that was the focus. Like Shrek and
Fair enough.
Thomas the Tank Engine.
Fair enough, man.
But to circle back,
I just also want to bring back just a little bit how abhorrent and how incredibly upset I am for my female coworkers who have had to deal with people sending them dick pics on Twitter that they would leak a release date. Like, the name escapes me right now, but it was so bad that the studio had to release a statement.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. She was on Black Ops 4.
She works on cinematics.
I don't want to say her name because...
No, yeah.
Just in case. But yeah,
maybe cut out the info about her, but it's abhorrent that that people have to deal with this shit. We are human beings working on video games. It's hard enough. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's hard enough to work on a game, especially a game of this scale. Like this, I mean, it's God of War. It's a big video game. The stress that comes with working on that, because we care so much. Every single person I work with cares so much about making the game good, and people will not chill out. And I really condemn that behavior, and I'm incredibly upset that it got to that point. It sucks. No one should have to deal with this.
And it's like, on the subject of developer harassment, I remember during Modern Warfare, one of like the multiplayer, one of the directors kept getting death threats, like on Twitter all the fucking time.
Shit.
And they even doxed him at one point. Like, that shit is fucking terrible. It's like, why? Just because you can't do a specific thing with a specific gun at a random time, you have to death threat someone on Twitter? Like, how? It's like, oh, you owe me this. It's like, we don't owe you shit. You're buying what we make. Like,
yeah, exactly, right? Like, we're creating a commercial product that you can choose to buy or not buy. I've played video games since I was a child. I understand that there's an emotional attachment to the games and to the series and to the characters, right? And I understand that games like Call of Duty or God of War, there's an enormous amount of attachment to these characters and to these games because there's a lot of memories associated with them, right? Nevertheless, we are people.
Honestly, like when
end of the day,
I was so fucking on, like, with the relation, like the emotional connection. I was terrified when part 1 got announced for Last of Us.
Oh yeah, congratulations on that too as well, by the way. Very exciting.
I think it's like what?
Last of Us Part 1 coming soon, end of the year.
2 months.
When's the release date? 2 months. We're at your September,
in September,
right?
and you're
Very
November.
exciting. Congratulations. You worked on that game for a long time.
It was not as long as some people, but it
Yeah.
was a huge fucking pleasure to work on that shit. But like, even with
I'm so excited to play it.
it looks really good.
Yeah, that trailer looks great.
But I remember even like the emotional connection players have to Joel, specifically Joel, because like obviously gaming is a very male dominant area. I know a lot of femme presenting people are like starting to play more, being more vocal about it, which is dope as fuck because more perspective equals better product. It's like if you fuck up Joel or like just anything involving that, there's gonna be backlash. Even when the cover art released, how it's like it's Ellie in the prominent focus and Joel's just at the bottom. People were shitting on it. It's like, look how they diminish the character. Look how he leans to the right. It's not alpha presenting or some shit. It's like, what's wrong with you? Like, Jesus fucking Christ. It's, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I feel like we could do a whole episode on the just the alpha male thing in games, and I mean the datification of video games was a well documented movement that made me laugh a lot, which is in the early 2010s you started hitting age ranges within top people at studios that is like, oh man, I'm a father, I have emotions, question mark?
Yeah.
And then they started writing games about that.
I mean, hell, just look at...
Which The Last of Us is a perfect example of
I think that was the pivot. Like...
That was the pivot. And then God of War happened and they were like, father? Kratos? Which, it's my favorite iteration of the character, to be fair. I really, really enjoy it, but I also think it's incredibly funny.
Like, Kratos was a dad before, but that was kind of like the backside. It was just used for trauma. And, like... And alpha male machismo bullshit. Well, use it's like, oh, I have to use the ashes of my family to get revenge, da 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 da. And it's like, and then once you hit God of War 2018, it's like you're using that to protect and build up better relationships, because nearly everyone in game dev at some point or another, I think there was a meme by like Sam Maggs or something, it's like male game devs when they hit 28, it's like I have to make a game about this. And it's like, or like male game devs with daddy issues, as soon as they become a dad, it's like, oh, I'm gonna make a game about this instead of going to therapy.
Make a game about
instead of going to therapy. And I'm just like, and I'm like, man, I was thinking of doing that too. Fuck off.
Yeah, you don't see me making a game about my daddy issues. Come on, guys.
Fast forward 10 years later.
Oh my, yeah, give me 10 years, God. No, I have a healthy relationship with my father. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's awesome. We're keeping all this in.
No, we're keeping this in. All right, this is
keep
good.
It live. We're doing it live.
Did you see, related to what we've been talking about? Did you see, the Monkey Island dev, the original creator? What's his name? Ron. Sorry, I want to get the name right. Ron Gilbert. Ron Gilbert, obviously, is working on Return to Monkey Island, which is the new installment in the Monkey Island series, which looks great.
Wait, it's a new game? I thought it was a remake. Okay. A sequel. Cool.
Got revealed and never going to get to play it, because I never thought we were going to get a Monkey Island game again.
Yeah.
Right? So excited. And Ron Gilbert had a blog where he would talk about the game and other things. And he would share things he wanted to share about game dev and the game, etc. And recently he has stated that he's going to stop. And I forget the whole quote, but the one that stuck with me is, "The joy of sharing has been taken away from me." Because people would harass him and make negative comments and threats, etc., because they didn't like the game's art style. Because they think it wasn't Monkey Island, quotation marks, Monkey Island enough.
But, like, okay, so I've only played a couple of the Monkey Island games, but if I remember correctly, like, even I think I played, like, 2 versions of the remake or whatever, but the art style changed every time. It had like the same idea, but the art style was different every time.
Yes.
So the idea of keeping it Monkey Island is so stupid.
And right, it's the most stupid thing ever, because the original 90s games were pixel art, beautiful pixel art, right? And then you get the remakes. I forget who made the remakes, but the remakes that I played from like the late 2000s,
I think that was
were like in 3D. It wasn't. It felt Double Fine-y, but it's not Double Fine. Maybe I'm gonna Google that real quick.
Yeah, you're fine.
Monkey Island.
I remember I was talking to someone about the transparency in game development.
It's Lucasfilm.
Oh, it's Lucas. Okay.
Did they do the special edition though? Because I played the special editions. No, those are the originals. Gotcha. I know it came out on like, I played it on my iPhone.
You had the iPhone 4 emulator?
100%. No. It was a game. They like remade it.
Ah.
Was it Return to Monkey Island?
I think it was Return.
Is that what I'm thinking of? No, this is a new one. I'm getting confused. I'm confused, you guys.
I'll look at it and I'll post it right here if I find anything.
Thank you, Adrian.
Future Adrian, right here. And if you're an audio viewer, that sucks. Anyway.
Sucks for you. Yeah, but I find it so sad. It's such a, game development is a very nebulous thing.
Yeah. Because
it's so technical. I think it's so inaccessible at the moment because it's so hard to explain. Mm-hmm. Right? And I say this from someone who's been on the outside looking in for most of my life and then recently got into the industry and started making them. I think it's so hard to understand from an outside perspective how games are made. And then you get creators like Ron Gilbert who are sharing that information and they're talking about it. And Ron tweets stuff that I find hilarious.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, games were easier to make in the 90s or games that are harder to make now, like type of tweets, which I find incredibly insightful because I wasn't around in the 90s.
Yeah. He's a very genuine person, and he's one of the few people I like in the industry that's just open, which is really rare. Mm-hmm.
And I think we need more of that.
Yeah. If
we want understanding to come. And this is why I want to mention, like, while we're on this topic, mm-hmm. Like YouTube channels like NoClip and People Make Games. Yes. And then the Min-Max show people, mm-hmm. I forget, but they have really good interviews with game developers, and then there's these incredible series by NoClip, like the Super Giant one that they did on Hades, so Developing good. Hell, so good. So excited for the Heart Machine one, so excited.
I didn't look at the trailer for that. I need to check it out,
dude. They're gonna do the Hades thing, but they're gonna do it for what's it, Hyper Light Drifter?
Yeah.
Is that what the new game is called? Mm-hmm. They're gonna do it for that, and I am so stoked, so excited, genuinely, because I think the best thing that these series do is humanize the process of game development.
I remember right after when we worked on Blops 4, I worked like long hours, like mm-hmm. absurd, and I'm like, am I just a bad developer or is game development really hard? And then right after turns out I'm both.
Take it back. For the audience at home, I have guns pointed at the camera. The guns being
all right. I'll take it back.
Take it back.
I'll take it back. But right, like a little after, I think Raising Kratos came out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which is one of my favorite documentaries, because that's currently my favorite game, like, of all time.
2018. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like seeing how hard it is for everyone in game development, like, because it is a very tough process. It's like long hours are a thing. It's like you want to work more. You know you shouldn't, but you're going to anyway because you just care. Because you want to get it right. You want to make sure what you're presenting is really good. And I always had a fear that I was just bad, and then seeing probably one of the best games in the last decade go through the process of just going from X to maybe not doing a spinoff to doing what they did was insanely crazy, and it took like fucking 5-6 years and a couple delays. It's like, no shit, everyone out here struggles with it.
They started working on that game in 2013, and it came out in 2018.
I was not in high school. Was I in high school? 20. Yeah, shit. Fuck. Hold on. How old am I? Let's see.
How old are you, Adrian?
I'm 25, so I was 16. Yeah, I was a sophomore in high school when they started that. When they started development in 2013. And I got my first job in the industry when it launched. Like, it launched the week after I started at Treyarch.
Games take so much longer than you think to get made.
Oh, and like, for some reason, people are like, give shit to Call of Duty for releasing every year, and the devs cycle's like 3 years. It's so shit. The way they were able to pull it off yearly for fucking a decade is insane.
Tell the people, Adrian. They need to hear it.
Like, long hours, so much passion, and so much fucking money, like, goes into those games. It's absurd. And be it, like, they reap the reward. They're always the highest selling game unless it's Grand Theft Auto or Red Dead. But it's so fucking jarring. Like, how are they able to pull out, like, at least relatively high quality titles consistently? Like, they have a minimum they have to hit. Even like the worst Call of Duty game is still better than some games. You know what I mean?
What is the worst Call of Duty game in your opinion?
Are we counting after, like, it became Call of Duty, like COD 4? Like,
let's not count pre-Modern Warfare.
Okay. Probably Ghosts. Call of Duty Ghosts, okay. Or Vanguard, but hold on, I'm gonna disclaim this right now because
okay. For the COD gamers,
for the gamers and my developer friends who have both worked on them, because they are solid titles. But if you know the politics behind what went on, because Ghost happened when half of IW left and made Respawn.
Right.
And Vanguard was developed in like a year after all Sledgehammer walked out and they rebuilt the studio from the ground up.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So if their worst titles come from full, like, studio fucking leaving and like redoing everything, that's like, and it's still relatively solid, it's nuts. You know what I mean?
That's really fucking impressive.
Yeah, it's super impressive.
And I mean, the bar for these games is insanely high. Like, at least, you know, I can speak mostly to the visual side of things because that's where I work, but like, the bar for these games is stupid high, y'all. Like, any game getting released these days, the visual bar is insane. The pressure on everyone to make that game look good is crazy.
Like, people get shit if reflections are off now.
Yeah.
And, like, it's like, oh, is this a photogrammetry workflow? Oh, it's not realistic and all that shit. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're running this on an Xbox from 2015. Shut the fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
You can't expect 4K on an Xbox One. I don't think you can.
Yep. By the way, I have no fucking idea. I don't play Call of Duty at all.
Fine.
I only play zombies on my friend's house, like once a year. I don't know shit about Call of Duty, but
I know way too much about it.
yeah, I mean, you worked on a few of them. How many did you work on?
2 plus the first iteration of Warzone.
That's right, you were a Warzone boy.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
And then
Which were you at Treyarch for that one?
I was at Infinity Ward.
Infinity Ward. But you did work at Treyarch, right?
Yeah, I worked at Treyarch first for about a year, and then a couple months before Modern Warfare dropped, I was asked to go over there. The lead at the time reached out to me and asked me to go over there, and I'm like, cool, that's fine. I needed the money, so
yeah. Was it a jump?
No, it was OT. Like, I think my pay bump, like at what was Treyarch? I think it was like 50 cents above minimum wage at the time, so like $15.
This is LA, right?
Yeah, this is LA. So if you know LA prices, I depended on overtime a lot. And
this is something I want to talk about in another episode.
I'm down to talk about wages anytime.
But I think we got enough on our hands with this one. But I have a lot of thoughts.
Yeah, should we save this or?
Yeah.
Here,
no,
let me just finish this real quick.
Yeah.
And so I got at our overtime ended because like Call of Duty runs on a cycle. It's like you just fill out the gap until the next release cycle starts coming out, right?
Okay.
And our cycle ended and my OT was dropping and I couldn't make rent. So, and I was like dipping into savings and shit. And so they reached out to me. Actually, no. A couple of the people already went over there because they lived closer to the studio.
Yeah.
And I asked them, I was like, hey, are you guys hiring and looking for work? Because I know you guys are doing OT. And they're like, yeah, obviously. And so I asked, and they brought me on like 2 weeks later. And I was on single player. Just to do, I think it was like 80, 90 hours a week.
Oh, man. I'm sorry. That must have sucked.
I mean, yeah, it was rough. It was very, very hard, but actually, there's no buts. It was hard.
Yeah, that shit.
It fucking sucked, but the game was good.
Overtime sucks ass, bro.
Dude, I can't even imagine doing overtime now. I haven't done overtime in. Actually, no, that's not. I did overtime a couple weeks ago.
That's not good.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a personal thing, just because I wanted to look at shit. That was just my bad.
You just got excited, like
I got too excited. Like there's self overtime, and then you're forced to do overtime.
Like it is built into the schedule overtime. I think
Correct.
That's the really bad kind of overtime. Everyone's gotten excited about what they're working on and been like, oh, I can stay a little long, like an extra hour today to like finish up this task or something, right?
There's that, and then when the bare minimum is expected, you do 60 hours.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, that's bad.
Really
that's
bad. That shouldn't happen.
Not at all.
But
Did you ever do a lot?
Yeah,
of
I was in a little similar of a spot. Not as
Okay.
bad as you, but when I was working on MLB 21, I moved to San Diego, and I tripled my rent to move here, to move to California.
Where were you? Were you in New York?
I was in upstate New York at the time, because I had just graduated from college, and I lived with a couple of my friends, and we were renting a house, 2-story house, and I mean, I'm not gonna get into money specifics.
Yeah, you
because I
don't
don't want
have
to, but I basically tripled my rent to live in a worse situation. If anyone's familiar with Southern California, you'll understand.
Yeah.
And I was barely making ends meet with the money I was getting paid doing regular work, and I was contract on environment artist, so I was doing the work I'm doing now, but I wasn't getting paid that much comparatively to how the cost of living was. And then the only time I could breathe a little bit was when I was simultaneously destroying my physical health working overtime. for when we were shipping MLB 21.
Yeah.
And that sucked. Being in that situation sucked.
It's really brutal. It's because you're already kind of tired, especially towards the end of project. You're like, I just want to get this done.
Yeah.
And when you're told to work just a bit more, it kind of fucks with you. Fucks with you mentally, like, a lot.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they forced us to work overtime, because they didn't.
Yeah.
But we kind of had to. It wasn't going to work any other way.
It's like, you got to do what you got to do to get what you need to knock it out. So,
yeah,
I feel that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how it goes. That's game dev, and it should be. Yeah. You know? I'm very grateful that we have a super strict no overtime policy at Valkyrie. It's like we tell people to leave at night. Usually, we have a couple of people that like to work a little longer, and we're like, hey, no, get out.
I feel like that's gonna be me when I eventually go back to office. Because I think because for like what is it, 3 years now? 2 years. Last 2 years of game dev and just my doing software shit has always been at home, and I just happen to work an extra couple of hours.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck. So you don't get that separation of being in an office and going out. And some people like work from home. I'm probably gonna do hybrid when I eventually move, because one, my cat's super needy, and two, I just like being home sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think that office supplies something different, or it hits different, I guess.
I am personally an in-person hoe. I love the energy of working around other people, but I did spend most of my career working from home, obviously because of COVID.
Yeah.
Including my start in the industry. I didn't work in office until about 6 months ago. And I've moved back and forth, and I can't do hybrid for specific reasons. But whenever I worked from home, it was a lot harder for me, because the separation of your home also being your workplace really fucked with me. Sorry, my cat was doing Juniper.
No, I saw her jump through the fucking bookcase.
Oh, did you see her?
Yeah, so we got it.
So I'll move the camera and I'll describe for the audio listeners. I have string lights hanging around my TV. You see her right now?
Oh my god.
And she likes to pull on it. So I'm gonna go get her and bring her to the camera for a second. Come here, honey. Come here, baby. There she is.
Oh,
this is Juniper. You will see her, I'm sure, many times throughout the podcast. She is a huge ball of energy and the love of my life, and she needs to chill out. There you go.
She's a baby, isn't she?
See, if you ever see a tail on camera like this, it's because she wants attention.
Needy cats. What can you do?
What can you do? But actually, it's been good for her that I don't work from home anymore. She's learning to just be by herself a little more.
She's no longer codependent.
I don't think she ever was, really. It's just that I was home all the time. She's a social cat. She's not codependent. Which is lucky for me, I guess.
Yep.
What was I talking about?
I think we were talking about fucking... Hold on. I'm looking at my notes real quick. We're talking about OT and working from home and how you can't do hybrid.
Yeah, I think I wrapped up my thoughts on that pretty well. Yeah, I mean, pretty much, there's a magic to working in person that I think unless your office is fully remote, which is a very valid, and I think it's very, very important and good that you have fully remote studios right now. And I encourage every studio to offer fully remote positions because it will only get you better workers, and more flexibility is better for the worker. And
Agreed.
I believe this wholeheartedly, right?
It's that.
But for
it's
me,
the option.
The option is very important. For me, I need to be in a space where there's other creative people working around me because it helps me get into the zone of working. That might not work for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's fine. This is just how I prefer to work. I will always advocate for people being able to work remotely. Always, always, always.
Agreed. I think it's like, because some days, like with me, some days I just like really want to work with other people, and it's like being around other creative people like fills my brain, and I'm like, cool. And then other days I just literally want to sulk in a room and just work, shut up, throw headphones in, and just work my ass off and do nothing.
For sure, I totally get it.
It's all the vibe, I guess.
It's all the vibe.
And plus, half of game dev is gremlins anyway, so it's fine.
Oh my god, the introverts.
Yeah,
it's fun. It's fun. We had a launch party recently for Guns Up Mobile. Shout out Guns Up Mobile. Shout out Gum. Love my host. Great mobile game. If you're looking for a little free-to-play game, Valkyrie. It's very fun.
Ad right here. Or down here.
It's such a fun game. I honestly I don't love a lot of mobile games anymore, because I think I'm not the demographic anymore.
You don't fuck with Jetpack Joyride?
I played the shit out of that when I was in high school, man. Middle school, probably. Yeah. But Guns Up Mobile, so good. Such a good game. And I don't say this because my studio worked on it. I have nothing to do with that game. I was working on something else entirely. I genuinely really like it. But yeah, we had a launch party for Gum. Mm-hmm. It was awesome. I got to meet a lot of my coworkers in person, which was really cool. Work events are so awkward.
Just quiet people, man.
Work events are so awkward. I think this is true for any office environment.
Yeah.
I think it's incredibly entertaining.
You just see them there like this, or with a drink in their hand, showing like this.
Sorry, my camera's shaking. Juniper's running across the desk. There is a squirrel outside for anyone interested.
She's hunting.
She is hunting. How long have we been recording?
We have been recording for 45 minutes. We have about 15 more minutes to fill. That was really fast.
45 minutes in, do you want to tell us where you work?
Oh, yeah. I should probably say where I work. Huh?
I got excited.
No, you're fine. I fucking forgot. So yeah, as previously stated, I work at Turn 10 Studios now. Woo! Yeah! Throwing the Eric Andre noise in the background.
Very exciting.
Yeah, I'm currently working on the Forza Motorsport series, and it looks.
Let's go!
And it's really cool.
How long ago have you started, Adrian?
I've officially been here for 2 weeks.
Exciting. How are you feeling about the job?
I'm about 3 weeks in. I've had my computer for 2 weeks, so my entire first week was nothing, and then my entire second week was reading Confluence pages and setting and pulling. I was syncing for Perforce.
Yep.
The entire day. I was just pulling builds and prepping everything. I'm not gonna go into a lot of the workflow stuff, but
you can't do that anyway.
Yeah, I can't at all, legally, because Microsoft will shoot me in the back of the head or turn this computer into a Terminator. But it's really cool. It's a lot of tech that I'm kind of familiar, like I've had experience with, but the entire workflow and the idea behind it is different because all the games I've worked on have had player interaction. So I'm working on the terrain stuff. Everything not the track is me. Like,
okay.
And not vegetation either. So I'm just doing all the background stuff, like all the other shit, right?
The Vista stuff.
Yeah. And so all my previous experience has been with stuff that players had to interact with. So I've had to worry about collision. I've had to worry about stuff like that. I don't have to deal with any of that stuff. What I do have to worry about, because Forza takes... Sorry, I'm fighting a burp. They had to... Like, you are remaking these real-life tracks. And the entire point of Forza, specifically the Motorsport series, is that they're racing simulations, and you have to get it exact. And what we're doing with this one is that we're adding our own... They're adding artistic flair to it, but it's almost like beat for beat the same. Like, just in the way they want to make it super realistic and 1-to-1.
Gotcha.
Which is my main focus now, and it's a new challenge.
It's a new challenge, yeah, sure.
It's stuff I never had to think about, and I'm like, this is really exciting, this is really hard, but I'm just like, holy shit, I'm having fun.
Yeah, for anyone wondering, that's really hard. That's not easy
that's
at
really
all.
fucking hard.
That's really fucking hard. I'm so excited for you.
I hope it comes out great. I think I know. Actually,
scratch that.
Scratch that. I know it'll come out great, but it's one of those things where I'm worried for my own output, and like it's. But yeah, I'm only 3 weeks in, and I'm learning everything on my own. That's probably the worst part about being remote, because I'm still in Los Angeles and everyone's up in Seattle, and it's like I have to ping people to figure out what the fuck I need to do and what I'm learning, because the onboarding process it's different when you're remote, at least on my end.
For sure.
So, it's cool. I'm learning a lot, but new challenges, baby.
Yeah, I mean, you have just started. The onboarding process at most studios is incredibly long.
Yeah.
And onboarding onto a different project also is something that's complicated as an artist.
Yeah. I
think, because you have to get used to entirely new tools, an entirely new workflow in your case, working on a different type of game. I went from working on a baseball realistic game to a God of War style game.
God of War, yeah.
Yeah. Very different targets. Artistically, very different targets with budget. Very different engine targets. You're working on an entirely different engine, I'm sure.
Yeah.
These are all complicated challenges that it is expected for you to take a while to like get used to it, I think.
Have all your studios worked in Maya?
Yes. So far.
So, my new one, Turn 10, they predominantly use 3ds Max. And I've used Maya my entire career. And I'm just sitting here, I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
And it's like, even something simple like that, or going like from Maya to Blender to whatever, or all that stuff. It's like, just knowing stuff like that is a left hook. Because something as simple as just navigating is different.
It's hard. It's different. It's always a challenge. These are all things that, as artists, we have to deal with whenever we change studios. It's not just instantly we're gonna be just as good as before. There's a ramp up process, and it's understood and expected with good leads and good producers, right? They understand that we're human and it takes time to get up to a point where we're going to be comfortable, sometimes up to 6 months, sometimes even longer.
I think that's from what I've been told, or at least I've seen on Twitter from like high-up producers, is that if you hire someone, or leads to be specific, it's like when you hire someone, you cannot judge their work in the first 6 months.
Yeah, that's pretty fair, I think.
I mean, like, you can judge the work, like, you can help them get to that point, but it's like, after that point, then you can have that conversation. It's like, what do they need to improve on? What do you need to focus with. But that entire point is that you're learning. You're just trying to understand everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's. It's hard. It's another thing about game development that I think doesn't necessarily get talked about a lot. Is that like ramping up on a project is really hard. I mean, even with all the technical stuff we talked about, then it's adapting to the art style. You know, changing your art to adapt to the art style, getting used to the type of feedback you're receiving from your art director, from your lead.
Yeah,
these are all challenges that I never thought I would. I never even thought when I was a student that these were things was going to have to worry about. Or before I started studying and getting into game dev, you know, into game art, I didn't understand those things, and I think this is true for everyone. I'm speaking from the artist perspective, but I think I will safely assume that even for a designer working on a different project is very different, even for an engineer, because you have to, or a programmer, you have to adapt to a whole new set of tools. Sometimes it's a different programming language.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like its own unique engine that has its own quirks. It's all very different, I think.
And that's probably where I actually want to bounce off this point. It's like there's so many facets to the industry, and we want to get other people in here to discuss their point of view and all that cool shit. So my question for you, Matt.
For me?
Yeah.
I love questions.
Whom stuff do you want on here?
Who do I want in here?
Yeah.
Is this it? Are we airing this?
Yeah, we're gonna air this. Okay, so we won't get into specifics to say who we have planned, but who's your dream guest?
My dream guest?
Yeah, like if you can have a dream.
This is a very good question.
Yeah.
Who's my dream guest? I think the dream guest is someone I don't know. Someone I don't know about. They're gonna tell me about their experience, and I'm gonna take it in, and I'm gonna gain an appreciation for them. I think this is a very granola hokey pokey type of answer, but I genuinely believe it. It's like I have plenty of people I look up to in the industry. You know, people I know, people I love, people whose work I admire. There's plenty of people we don't hear about that are just as important.
Oh, yeah.
If you have, for every Neil Druckmann and Cory Barlog, there's 1,000 unsung heroes, I think.
Yeah. Like
and I want to get those people in here. I want to get the narrative designers. I want to get the engine programmers. I want to get the graphics engineers. I want to get them in here, and I want to talk to them, and I want to learn why they love video games and the kind of work they do. I think that is important to me.
Yeah, I
want to get people.
Oh,
sorry. Go ahead. Oh my god. Okay, I will finish. I want to talk to people who aren't white men.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of them, and they deserve to be platformed a lot more than they are currently.
Yeah. I would love. There's so many fucking people in this industry, dude. Like.
Yep.
There's no reason to only talk to one demographic, especially not just artists. Like, we have artist friends and all that stuff. Like, and we'll have them on here probably. But it's like there's so many people that don't get to talk, and I would love to. So I went to the artist side because I'm very visual and I want to see what I do on there. I want to know like why the engineer chose video games. Like, did they love video games and then they like made shit on their own and all that stuff, like that lore and that build up to that, because we can't do our job without them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very important.
Like, and the fucking 14 layered cake that is a video game, like they're the entire base. We're
the frosting on top.
Yeah, we're the frosting at best. Or even the little fucking mannequin people on the very tip of the cake. I don't know if that's a thing.
Okay, we are the consumer side. We are what people see.
Yeah.
Right?
There's everything else that goes into play.
Without other people's work, we cannot do our job well.
100%.
This is very important. If anyone takes anything from this episode, I'm looking at you, non-game developers. I'm looking at you through the camera. I'm staring into your soul. And I say, the next time you complain about graphics, please know that every department is underpaid, understaffed, and overworked. And we are doing the absolute best we can with what we have. Every single one of us. And graphics would be nothing without all the engineers working behind it. Thank you.
And the hundreds of other people that...
Oh, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
That have, like, titles that I don't even fucking know.
Not even mentioning audio, the localization people. My besties, the QA people. I love my QA people. We couldn't make games without QA. I'm speaking like Trump. I love QA. I love QA. I love
best dicks.
Such fine people. We could not shape a single game without QA people. Imagine if every single bug you've ever fixed, you had to find yourself and then fix. I would quit. I would not be here anymore.
Yeah, no.
Straight up.
There's a lot to this industry that I think it goes really unsung, and that's, and I think
that's part of why we started this too.
Yeah.
Because we want to talk about that.
Give them a platform.
That's right. That's right.
It's like, why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
Exactly. Why not?
Y'all want
the Broken Build podcast.
Here's transparency.
Why not? Sorry?
It's like the fucking gamers want transparency, so here's your transparency.
Here's your transparency.
Half of us hate you.
And scene. Broken Build podcast. Done. We're good. All right. Just closing it out real quick. We have a Twitter. If you want to follow us on Twitter at Broken Build Podcast. However you're watching this, I will just list out where you can grab us. We have videos on YouTube, just full episodes. And then if you want to listen to us in a more podcast-like format, you can find that on Spotify, other podcasting
maybe
apps
Apple.
that I forget the name of. Yeah, Apple Podcast. I don't know.
I think Apple Podcast. That's.
But
spiel.
Anywhere you listen to your podcast, we are most likely there.
Mm-hmm.
So please look us up there. Leaving a review helps us a lot. You don't have to, but it helps us if you want to help us. And yeah, thanks so much for listening. This was Matt. Adrian was here.
This is Adrian.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good one. Hope you have a good day and sleep well. Oh shit. I'll wave
yes,
too.
tomorrow. Go to bed now.
If you don't go to bed, I'll fucking cry.